Welcome to the Alberta Legislature for Tuesday, April the 9th, 1991. My name is David Carter, Speaker of the House and member of the Assembly for Calgary-Egmont. Today, during question period, no doubt a number of questions will be dealing with the provincial budget, which was brought down last Thursday. This evening, when the House returns at 8 o'clock, the committee being dealt with in terms of estimates will be the Department of Advanced Education. After question period today, the House will be dealing with a number of written questions, followed by motions for return. And then the House, if it deals with the normal practice of business, will be dealing with a motion as sponsored by the member for Clover Bar, which in itself deals with integrated solid waste management plans in Alberta municipalities. Let us pray. We give thanks to God for the rich heritage of this province as found in our people. We pray that native-born Albertans and those who have come from other places may continue to work together to preserve and enlarge the precious heritage called Alberta.
Introduction of visitors, presenting petitions, reading and receiving petitions, presenting reports by standing and special committees, notices of motions.
Member for Edmonton Centre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to give notice of following motion under Standing Order 40. At the end of question period, be it resolved that the Legislative Assembly of Alberta, 1, urge the Government of Canada to take a leading effort in providing humanitarian assistance to relieve the suffering of the Kurdish refugees, and 2, urge the Government of Alberta, through the Alberta Agency for International Development, to make a generous contribution to the international relief effort mobilizing to meet the extensive needs of the Kurdish people.
Introduction of bills, tabling returns and reports.
Minister of Agriculture.
Mr. Speaker, it's my pleasure this afternoon to table the annual report of the Agricultural Development Corporation for the year ended March 31st, 1990. As well, I'm pleased to file a response to written questions 171 and a response to motion for return 220.
Minister of Public Works, Supply and Services.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to table with the Assembly today the annual report of 1989 for the Alberta Gaming Commission.
Solicitor General.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's my pleasure to table the annual report of the Department of the Solicitor General for the year ending March 31st, 1990.
Introduction of special guests.
Member for Edmonton Whitemud.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's my pleasure to introduce to you and through you to members of the Legislative Assembly, one of what I refer to as the original activists within the community of disabled persons, Ron Lee, accompanied today by Vernon Roth. If you would make their presence known and receive the warm welcome of this House.
Karimbi, followed by the Minister of Municipal Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, it is my privilege this afternoon to be able to introduce to you and through you to members of the Assembly a former page in this Assembly. Mr. Harold Campbell of this city served as a page from 1933 to 1935, at the time when the Honourable George Johnson was Speaker, the Honourable John Brownlee Premier, and the United Farmers the government of the province. Mr. Campbell tells me he is enjoying renewing many memories on his visit today to this legislature. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Campbell is seated in your gallery, and I would ask him to stand and receive the warm welcome of the Assembly.
Minister of Municipal Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to take this opportunity through you to the honourable members of the legislature to introduce a very astute group of gentlemen that have been the members of and are the members of the Municipal Statutes Review Committee. They have spent some 3 years reviewing some 140 pieces of legislation during the past period of time, and today have presented me with a proposed new Municipal Government Act, which I will be reviewing and tabling in this legislature at the earliest possible opportunity. The chairman of that committee are two of our members in this legislature, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Glenn Clegg and Ty Lund as chairman and vice chairman, and I'd like to introduce the members and have them stand at this time. Ross Alger of Calgary, Councillor Gary Browning, Devon, Frank Albright, Eaglesham, Bob Matheson, Edmonton, Eric Musgrave, Calgary, Councillor Dick Papworth, County of Lethbridge, Alderman Craig Reed, Calgary, and the Secretariat is Tom Forgrave and Norm Milkey.
Minister of Energy, followed by Edmonton Meadowlark.
Mr. Speaker, I'm very pleased to introduce to you and members of the Assembly some 90 students from the Dr. Egbert Community School in the constituency of Calgary-Montrose. Mr. Speaker, they are accompanied by their teachers H. Leong, D. Ganchev, D. Higgin, parents Mrs. Miller, Ms. Ludlow, and Ms. Howard. Mr. Speaker, they've been on a tour of the legislature, and I visited with them. They are disappointed that the Flames lost last night, but are optimistic for Wednesday. I'd like them all to stand and be recognized by the Assembly.
Edmonton Meadowlark.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's my pleasure to introduce to you and through you to members of the legislature 3 members of the Board of Directors of the Edmonton Co-op. They are Andy Cameron, Gloria Karalik, and Joanne Olafson. They're here today out of concern with the fate of the Edmonton Co-op and seeking government assistance in overcoming that issue. I would ask that they stand in the gallery and receive the welcome of the members of the Legislative Assembly.
Calgary McKnight, followed by Edmonton Highlands.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm very pleased today to introduce to you and to this Assembly 3 Albertans, special guests from Southern Alberta. They are Carrie Brinkert, the President of the University of Calgary Students' Union, Jill Johnson, President of the University of Calgary Graduate Students Association, and Heather Tabor, the Vice President External from the University of Lethbridge. I would ask them to stand and receive the usual warm applause from this Assembly.
Edmonton Highlands.
Thanks, Mr. Speaker. Those are the people I was going to introduce.
There we are. It's great to be popular.
No statements. Oral question period.
Mr. Speaker, to the Premier. Mr. Speaker, seniors all over this province are outraged at the insult paid to them in this year's budget. A budget of increased fees and reduced benefits for our seniors. Mr. Speaker, to them this is cruel and heartless. Mr. Speaker, for the most part, seniors in Alberta live on fixed incomes and cannot go up and scare up extra money needed now to balance their own personal budgets. Mr. Speaker, they're at a time in their lives when they need the support of a caring government that will allow them to live in a dignified and independent lifestyle. A lifestyle that they have earned, Mr. Speaker, and which this government budget is working to deny them. My question is a very simple, straightforward one to the Premier. How does the Premier justify attacking seniors in this cruel and heartless way?
Mr. Speaker, it's unfortunate the Honourable Leader of the Opposition seems to have paid no attention to the budget speech. What has happened, as was pointed out by the Provincial Treasurer and in more detail by the Minister of Health, and perhaps she may want to add to my answer, but let's just look at the budget speech where it points out that this government has increased seniors' benefits to some $1.2 billion in this budget. There is not a jurisdiction in Canada that comes close to the programs that we have in Alberta for senior citizens. And might I say also that the senior citizens in this province, when you travel, meet them, they say, look, we want to make sure that we contribute in this province as well. And we want to pay our way, and the Alberta government is working with these seniors groups, and they really appreciate the programs that the government has in place.
Mr. Speaker, he's talking to a lot of hypothetical seniors that we're not, Mr. Speaker, because our phone's been ringing off the hook, and they're not happy with this Premier or this government, Mr. Speaker. Now, Mr. Speaker, hard-pressed seniors in this budget, no matter how he wants to look at, are being asked to pay more. More, more, and more. Nursing home, lodge fees, medical equipment, eyeglasses, dentures, you name it, Mr. Speaker. And I point out to the Premier that how hypocritical it is, because this is the same time that there's a 15% increase for the ministers and their upper bureaucrats in this budget, Mr. Speaker. And I want to ask the minister this. How can he justify this increase for people over there and the top bureaucrats at the same time you're cutting back needed programs for seniors?
Well, Mr. Speaker, the member is totally off base and wrong. The benefits for seniors in this budget are increased. Now, surely, do I have to repeat it again before it starts to sink in? Now, the Minister of Health may wish to go into details because he's now talking about details of health matters having to do with seniors, and she may well wish to straighten them out as well.
Minister of Health, briefly.
Well, Mr. Speaker, let's look at the issue of cost sharing, which, yes, we are saying that where there is a cost sharing program, it should be based on the ability to contribute, not on age. And we are certainly looking at those programs in Alberta, but let's just start to look at some of the programs we provide in that $1.2 billion, Mr. Speaker. With respect to eyeglasses, we assist with partial coverage of eyeglasses once every 3 years. Places like British Columbia and Ontario provide no coverage. Let's look at dental care. We provide assistance. Places like BC, Manitoba, Ontario, no coverage. Let's look at long-term care facility residence fees. In Alberta, seniors have the lowest rates in Canada, and those on minimum income have the highest disposable income. Those are programs that are directed at the people that need them most. And those are the way that we've looked through our programs, and seniors in our Alberta can be proud of the programs this government continues to support for them.
That kind of non-answer is not going to impress the seniors of Alberta. They don't care what they're getting in other places, Mr. Speaker. And they don't pay Medicare premiums in the province of Ontario. I might point that out, Mr. Speaker. Here there was cuts, Mr. Speaker, in this budget. There was cuts in aids to daily living, extended benefits, non-prescription Medicare, seniors home heating. Those aren't cuts, Mr. Premier. And I want to come back to the Premier, who's in charge, is supposedly in charge, Mr. Speaker, and ask him this. Why not, instead of cutting back in these programs to the seniors, Mr. Speaker, cut back some of the 28 of those people sitting over there? They're very expensive. Then you'd have millions of dollars to spend in seniors, Mr. Speaker.
Wait on. Get up.
Well, Mr. Speaker, does the Honourable Leader of the Opposition not understand English? The money for seniors has been increased, not cut back. He refers to health cutbacks. There are not cutbacks in health. There are increases. It's a massive budget of some $4 billion in health and over $1.2 billion for seniors. Now, his comment about cutbacks is absolute nonsense. Nonsense.
Mr. Speaker, the only nonsense is this government that can't cut cabinet ministers but can cut seniors. That's what people find nonsense, Mr. Speaker. Now, Mr. Speaker, my second question is to the Minister of Economic Development and International Trade. Now, while they don't have money for seniors, we know where they do have lots of money, Mr. Speaker, lots of money to hand out, and this is in their whole loan guarantee mess, Mr. Speaker, and it looks like this is going to get even worse, with Albertans again holding another multi-million-dollar bag once again, Mr. Speaker. The government has given a $265 million loan guarantee to the operators of a magnesium smelter just south of Calgary, of which at least $103 million has been drawn up to date, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this project is $50 million over budget, 9 months behind schedule, and the majority partner is admitting that they may never get its cost back. And the minority partner, Mr. Speaker, has refused since July to sink any more money into the project, Mr. Speaker. My question is a straightforward one to the Minister. Will the Minister tell Albertans now if their money is totally secured, and can he give his commitment that Albertans will not lose any money on this project?
Mr. Speaker, the opposition party consistently raises our involvement with loan guarantees and support programs. I would be curious as to whether they would go on the record as it relates to our support for the farmers through our Farm Credit Stability Program. If he's suggesting we shouldn't support our farmers, I wish he would be direct in that statement. If he's suggesting also that we should not support the small business community with our substantial involvement in loan guarantees and whatnot for that, I wish he would be honest in dealing with that also. If he's suggesting that we shouldn't deal with our students by offering them loan guarantees so that they can have a proper education, I'd be interested in knowing that, Mr. Speaker. In addition to that, Mr. Speaker, I'm happy to share with him that I presently have the issue that he has raised under advisement at an appropriate time. I'm more than happy to share with him what his decision will be.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I thought I asked about a magnesium smelter, not about student loans. But, Mr. Speaker, I think it's clear he should take it under advisement. There's a lot of money there, Mr. Speaker. But, Mr. Speaker, let me point out to this minister, this company has so far lost $5.8 million on revenues of only $600,000. Oh, brother. Now, Mr. Speaker, there are only two options for this government. It can either pour hundreds of millions more of taxpayers' money into this project to bring it to full capacity, or risk a huge loss if the project goes bust, or can refuse to put any more money in and take a huge hit on the $103 million already loaned. Which is it going to be? That's the question I want to ask the minister.
Which one? Mr. Speaker, the honourable member only has to refer to the budgetary documentation that was distributed when our provincial treasurer introduced the budget, whereby we outlined some $3.5 billion worth of support to individual Albertans so that we could have the strongest economy in Canada. If the honourable member is suggesting we should have involved ourselves, I appreciate his suggestion. As I indicated to him earlier, and I answered the question to the honourable member earlier, he'll just have to wait a short while for the answer.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I've got an answer for the seniors. Maybe they can form a company, take out a PC membership, and get a loan guarantee, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my question is, this is a lot of taxpayers' money. We had a budget just last Thursday, Mr. Speaker. All of a sudden now we find out that this budget may be outdated, Mr. Speaker. And I want to ask this. If this kept either option for the government is going to cost the taxpayers money, isn't this clear that this is going to affect already the so-called balanced budget?
No, Mr. Speaker, it is not clear that it is going to affect the budget because the honourable member is making a number of assumptions that could possibly prove very false. But let me come back to what he indicated. at the start, whereby if he is suggesting that the some 30-odd thousand farmers that have involved themselves in this program, the 20,000 some odd small business people, the many students, if they all wish to take out PC membership cards, we welcome that. But if the honourable member is suggesting that, it is utter nonsense as he usually spouts in this House.
your clock that's ticking, honorable members. Edmonton Glengarry.
Mr. Speaker, my questions are to the Honorable Premier. Managers of Novotel were fired because they were some $200 million out in their revenue projections. Our provincial treasurer has frequently goofed by underestimating his deficits to the extent of some $3.2 billion. That's 16 times the Novotel goof. I'd like to ask the Premier why there's a double standard. Standard for those involved in industries controlled by the government and a standard for the provincial treasurer. There isn't, Mr. Speaker. I think the facts speak for themselves, Mr. Premier. Mr. Speaker, a year ago, the Premier promised Albertans that the sale proceeds from the sale of AGT, that those sale proceeds would not be used to pay down the annual deficit of the province. In fact, that's exactly what has happened. In the last fiscal year, some $335 million have been allocated to the annual deficit. Mr. Premier, I'd like to know why you broke your promise to Albertans.
I didn't, Mr. Speaker.
Now who can't read English?
I don't think that the Premier understood the question or he was deflecting in his usual way. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to ask the Premier to tell us where the rest of the sale proceeds will go. I'd like to have him make a promise, and I'd like his assurance that he'll keep the promise and tell us exactly where those sale proceeds are going to go when they do accrue on the rest of the sale of TELUS assets.
Mr. Speaker, he's dealing in a hypothetical situation. He still doesn't know how to put something on the order paper when he wants information. I'm afraid the honourable member is just striking out again.
Anoka Rimby.
Mr. Speaker, considerable progress is being made at our regional treatment centres in the province in the treatment of the mentally ill and brain injured. With the specialized treatment and therapy provided by treatment teams, the stay in these hospitals is on average shorter, and individuals are prepared to return to the community. However, Mr. Speaker, there is a great need for suitable home placements for individuals that have undergone successful treatment and now need a supportive environment. Mr. Speaker, to the Minister of Health, is the Minister prepared to assess this situation and take action to meet the needs of Albertans needing such approved homes?
Mr. Speaker, part of the choices made in this budget of choices was to look at the community alternatives that we can provide in health generally, but in the area of mental health specifically. While I can get into the more line-by-line details as part of the estimates discussion, that it simply suffice to say that the Approved Homes program will see increased spaces for people who need a situation somewhere between the institution and their full community support, and that's what the whole purpose of the Approved Homes program is and will be enhanced under this current budget. In addition, specifically for the brain injured, the provision now for home care to the under 65 group will be a major support on the community side to assist those Albertans who need a little extra support, particularly standalone home support, non-medical support for the under 65 age group.
Yes, a supplementary question, Mr. Speaker. I'm pleased to hear about those initiatives in the general description given. I would like to zero in on one aspect, though, Mr. Speaker, and that is that in my constituency, and I know in other parts of the province, there is a particular need for such home placements and mental health initiatives with respect to our native population and native communities and on Indian reservations. Will these initiatives, Mr. Speaker, to the Minister of Health, will these initiatives apply to our native communities across the province?
Mr. Speaker, I think we always have to be very cognizant of the constitutional role of the federal government with respect to Native people on reserves. But certainly as part of the 13% increase in the community supports in the mental health area, One of the initiatives will be in the area of native mental health services through our mental health clinics and through support for agencies that are not directly government agencies but are working with government to deal with the issue. I'd be happy to describe it further when we get to estimates point.
Calgary Mountain View.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My questions are to the Attorney General. One of the companies in the principal empire was Glen Eden Realty and Development. Before the collapse of that empire, the directors of Glen Eden were John Cormier and Krista Petraka, a vice president of the principal group. After the collapse, Glen Eden, the owner of the Prince Royal Inn in Calgary, was sold by the receiver, Coopers & Lybrand, in March of 1988, and the directors became Gaspar Zentner and Krista Petraka. In September of 1989, one of the numbered companies which owned Glen Eden acquired sole ownership of Glen Eden. The president of the company, which was bought out and which walked away from the deal with $1.3 million, was none other than Krista Petraka. Mr. Speaker, if the Attorney General is aware of these transactions, could he indicate to the Assembly whether they were in any way questionable or improper?
Mr. Speaker, I'm not allowed to give a legal opinion, and especially on the facts that I'm not aware of.
Mr. Speaker, with the collapse of the principal empire, everyone took a bath, the taxpayers, the contract holders, and the note holders. As a part of his review, could the Attorney General investigate this matter and inform the Assembly on this question? Is the money that was made on this shares sale now beyond the reach of our public authorities, or can some or all of it be recovered for either the taxpayers or contract holders who have paid so dearly for the collapse of the principal group?
Mr. Speaker, the RCMP have all of the documents and details related to the intricate dealings of the principal group and all of its associated companies. They are continuing their investigation and will be recommending whether criminal charges will be laid and what these particular charges will be. In particular private matters, if some particular shareholder of a company that was involved in a deal has a concern, I would suggest they seek legal counsel.
Curious line of questioning, Calgary Mountain View. Perhaps you might consult Beauchesne 411. Thank you. Edmonton Meadowlark.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Federated Cooperatives of Saskatchewan managed the Edmonton Co-op for 5 years, charged them apparently inflated wholesale prices, did the audit that put them into receivership, appointed themselves receiver manager, and now actually holds the assets of the Edmonton Co-op. They did all of this while refusing to show the new board of the Edmonton Co-op their agreement with the previous board, which they say allowed them to do it. To the Minister of Consumer and Corporate Affairs, while the Minister's staff is meeting with the board soon, will the Minister make a commitment here and now to meet personally with the board of Edmonton Co-op to hear their concerns firsthand, or will he at least give us an explanation as to why he won't do that?
Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to commit to the honourable member, as we've previously committed to the co-op board, to meet with them. They, in fact, are meeting with the deputy and assistant in the morning, as I believe the member well knows, and that meeting will take place, and one with myself will follow if the board so desires.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, could the Minister tell us whether he feels that an independent audit should be required in circumstances such as this in order to ensure that any conflict of interest or appearance to that effect will be avoided?
Mr. Speaker, in this particular instance, my understanding is that the debenture that was owned by Federated Co-ops of the Edmonton Co-op was put in place when the Edmonton organization was unable to meet commitments or to achieve its end. That's unfortunate, but was an internal arrangement among cooperative members in the province. To this date, I haven't seen information which would allow us to believe that there was something wrong in terms of that transaction. I'm happy to receive any information, however, that the member might have or that members of the Edmonton Co-op Board might have in reviewing the circumstance. Nonetheless, our goal will remain twofold. First of all, to make sure that there is fairness and equity in the system, and secondly, to ensure as much as we can that all opportunities regarding involvement in cooperatives in the City of Edmonton remain there.
Cochrane. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my constituents are very pleased with the budget announcement of $6 million to initiate a comprehensive province-wide waste minimization and recycling program. However, since in BAM Cochrane currently there are 3 recycling initiatives in 3 communities, and we have 2 more which are planned for this month. My question is to the Minister of the Environment. Will the existing recycling programs have to vie for funding from this $6 million pool once the program is in operation, since to do so would put them in competition with the new communities that will become involved as a result of the budget announcement?
Mr. Speaker, the honourable member for Jasper Place yesterday alluded to some $2.4 million additional being allocated to enhanced waste minimization and recycling. They indicated at that time that really we have received something in the neighborhood of $6 million new dollars. This is over and above the amount that had already been committed to the ongoing operation of community-based recycling programs such as those referred to by the honourable member for Banff Cochrane. So indeed, programs that are now underway in community-based recycling programs will be funded, and the new money will be there to enhance those programs and to create a more comprehensive system of waste minimization and recycling in the province.
Thanks, Mr. Speaker. I'm pleased to hear that the government is going to continue to support the leaders in this recycling initiative in the province. My supplemental question is to the Minister of Economic Development and Trade. Since the private sector has not exactly jumped at the economic opportunities in waste minimization and recycling, my question is what portion of the $6 million is going to be used to encourage industry to become involved in this program?
Good question.
Mr. Speaker, as the Minister of Environment indicated, it is $6 million of new money, notwithstanding the fact that we have taken a substantial reduction within our own budgetary estimates, recognizing the importance that recycling and waste management plays. On behalf of this government, we have allocated $2 million within our own budget so that we can have an industrial development component, because there is viable economics in the removal of the waste within our province, and we're going to do our level best to encourage the private sector to involve themselves in that waste technology.
Edmonton Belmont.
Mr. Speaker, my question is directed to the Premier, and it has to do with the policy of his government using taxpayers' dollars to promote partisan political activities. Last week, the Treasurer slashed and hacked his budget, so at least on paper we could have some magician foolishness that would appear to give us a balanced budget. Mr. Speaker, the funds were cut from employment and training support and social services, and funds were indeed cut from the Department of Career Development and Employment. So my question to the Premier is, given that the government cut in so many areas, how is it that the Minister of Career Development and Employment found sufficient funds to use government services to print on departmental letterhead and distribute through the internal mail systems invitations to the Progressive Conservative Convention?
Well, I think, Mr. Speaker, the question probably is more properly addressed to the individual he's referring to.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I would love the opportunity to answer those allegations and would hope the honourable member would listen intently. First of all, Mr. Speaker, On plain white paper, I extended an invitation to any and those who would like to participate to come to the convention, just as I would extend to that honorable member if he so wished. Mr. Speaker, if the honorable member would look at that specific piece of paper, he would find that it has been duplicated and copied over by some individual. He would note that the word subject is overlapped on that specific piece of paper, and it did go out on plain white paper. And I would say that the individual who is despicable, dishonest, and deceitful enough would meet me outside of the House, where I will then address him or her with those same remarks and allow them the opportunity to dispute and argue the point. Thank you.
Chair will listen attentively to the supplementary question, which I'm sure will be brief, but the issue perhaps needs to be carried on further with the office of the Speaker because it involves some other kinds of funds. Edmonton Belmont, briefly.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On plain white paper, photocopied, perhaps in the minister's office, typed by the minister's secretary and distributed through the departmental internal mail system,
Shame.
We have to wonder who's using whose funds here to get this invitation out to a political meeting. So my question is to the Premier, back to the Premier. Will the Premier demand that the Minister of Career Development and Employment pay all costs associated with the production and distribution of this invitation to the PC Convention?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I refer to you, Mr. Speaker, and your honest and valued judgment that you said that you would like to have the opportunity to review this if there was any attempt to besmirch my character or my values. And if I have done anything wrong, I would accept your decision and your decision as the leader of this assembly.
Calgary, McKnight.
Mr. Speaker.
Yes, please.
Mr. Speaker, at this time when student aid in Alberta is under siege, one would expect that the Student Finance Board would be working with students to ensure that realistic decisions are made on their behalf. However, because the student members of the Finance Board are selected by the Minister of Advanced Education based on party affiliation, the ability of Alberta students to be effectively represented is severely limited to the Minister of Advanced Education. Given that both of the provincial student associations have called upon this government to allow them to select the student representatives on the Finance Board, will the minister now agree to allow this basic democratic right and stop blatant partisan appointments?
Mr. Speaker, I believe that the Alberta student movement is extremely well served, some 116,000 of them by the Student Finance Board. And I believe, Mr. Speaker, it's very important that the representation and views of students be represented on that board, and that's why we appoint student members. I would have great difficulty, Mr. Speaker, believing that those student members should only come from the major institutions in this province.
Mr. Speaker, I am afraid the minister did not understand my question. I have no problem with student representation. It is how they get there. The point is, would the minister allow the students to select their own representatives, as is done on the Board of Governors?
Mr. Speaker, because the Student Finance Board represents policies affecting all students in our post-secondary system, I, as minister, seek the views of many Albertans as to who those representatives should be. The only caveat I have, Mr. Speaker, is that they be students, not students of any particular institution.
Bow Valley, followed by Edmonton Calder.
Mr. Speaker, my question is to the Honourable Minister of Health. And yesterday she made some announcements about reduction in the benefits to seniors, in that they would have to cost share some of the extended health care benefits. Now, in that the budget for seniors has improved in the annual budget, could the Could the minister tell us whether this money savings is being transferred to some other programs for seniors?
Mr. Speaker, I started to get into the issue when the opposition raised it, and that was the whole issue of asking for some cost sharing in certain programs in health, which is what we've done. And I'll get into the details, obviously, more during budget estimates. But let me simply say that while there have been areas where there have been requests for cost sharing, there have also been substantial increases in how we're funding our budget, particularly that directed to seniors, including the $13 million enhancement and updating of the AIDS to Daily Living program, which is now available for all Albertans, a $10 million increase for home care for the seniors population, of course no health or Blue Cross premiums, but also no drug or ambulance costs for seniors living in nursing homes. Those are part of the balances and the choices that we made, Mr. Speaker. And unlike some members of the opposition who believe that governing means never having to say no, believe me, the responsibility for governing means that we have to make choices and make those choices based on principles and be prudent about those choices. Those are what we're recommending to this Assembly.
Mr. Speaker, in past years, we have heard of seniors from other provinces wanting to move to Alberta because of the programs that we have for seniors. Will this reduction now in cost benefits, how will it compare with other provinces?
Mr. Speaker, interestingly, Alberta will continue to have some of the finest, if not the finest, range of programs for seniors.
They are.
I got into some of the details on the program, but let's look at things like physical therapy services. In Alberta, we waived the annual limit for senior citizens. That's not duplicated anywhere, including in Saskatchewan, Manitoba, or Ontario. Ambulance services, Alberta provides full coverage for ambulance services for seniors, but if we look at British Columbia, Manitoba, and Ontario, there's no coverage. In Alberta, we assist seniors with things like special in-home nursing care through our Extended Health Benefits program. In British Columbia, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and Ontario, there is no such coverage. What we're dealing with here, Mr. Speaker, is looking at our programs, making choices in order to preserve those parts of the programs that we believe are essential for our seniors, and asking for some cost sharing in order that all Albertans can have access to those programs, and all Albertans with low income, regardless of age, can have income protection for those services. I believe the principles are sound and that the proceeding through the budget is one that we recommend highly to the people of this province.
Edmonton Calder.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there continues to be thousands of people on social assistance throughout this province. And even though the Minister of Family and Social Services has increased spending in certain areas of social assistance, something extremely disturbing in his budget, Mr. Speaker, is that the Minister has cut employment and training support by $16 million. Given that, according to this government Support for Independence, this particular support program provides extra help to clients to find a job, to upgrade skills, and to acquire work experience, how can this minister justify cutting such a huge amount from this program?
Well, Mr. Speaker, first of all, the member is quite right. We have undergone significant changes in this department to address the many needs of the caseload here in the province of Alberta. But in terms of our overall budget, Mr. Speaker, I'd want to remind the member that we have had a significant increase of 7.9%, Mr. Speaker, overall. And I say significant, particularly when you put that into the perspective that over 50% of the ministries and government agencies across this province have received cuts, Mr. Speaker. But this government has clearly said that support for independence is a priority. Mr. Speaker, I'd also want to point out that we've also been able to work very closely with the minister responsible for career development and employment, and as a result of that are able to better deliver our services.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, the fact remains that this program has been cut, this program that people need to get off social assistance. And in view of the fact that the minister has said that benefits will be restricted or removed for failure to find employment, And given this massive budget cut in this particular program, what assurances can the minister give to people living on social allowance that they will have access to training and support services if they need them?
Mr. Speaker, I know that we're going to have the opportunity of reviewing this budget in detail, but what I'd want to bring to the members' attention at this point, Mr. Speaker, is what the cut reflects, Mr. Speaker, is that it reflects the anticipated success of these reforms, Mr. Speaker. What it reflects is 2,000 less Albertans on the caseload, Mr. Speaker. That's why the cuts are there, because we know the changes are good, we know the changes are going to work, and we know that there are going to be fewer Albertans dependent on supports for independence.
Bakerville, followed by Edmonton Gold Bar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, one of the more outrageous motions passed by the Reform Party at their recent weekend convention was one urging an end to government programs for farmers. Now, this is apparently an objective that this government shares, as evidenced by their deep cuts to the Farm Fuel Distribution Allowance Program and their axing of the Fertilizer Price Protection Program, proving, Mr. Speaker, that reformers are indeed conservatives in a hurry. Right. Now, I suppose, Mr. Speaker, that this might work if it weren't for their blind faith in a free trade deal that is taking dollars out of farmers' pockets by destroying things like the Wheat Board, the Dairy Commission, and the Ag Marketing Agency. And I'd like to ask the minister how he can justify putting Alberta's farming families between a rock and a hard place by butchering these important programs of support for farmers on the one hand and working so hard to destabilize and undermine the structures that farmers have created to help them compete and get a fair price in the marketplace.
Mr. Speaker, I have to be convinced that the fertilizer spreader that was being used earlier by the member from Stony Plain is now in the hands of the member for Vegreville. The Associate Minister of Agriculture may want to supplement this, but I think the key point that the member for Vegreville seems to overlook is that we've worked with the producers of this province, we've worked with the provinces of this nation and with the federal government to, for the first time ever, bring a stabilization safety net type program and make it available to our farmers this spring. This government commits an additional $50 million into that program, and for the first time we have a program that protects farmers at the same level right across the prairies. If the honorable ag critic on the socialist side would have paid attention when we announced that program, we stated at the time that it was incumbent upon us to make sure that once we leveled the field here, we didn't create a bunch of valleys here, and that some of the input support programs would be adjusted in view of the additional commitment into the safety net program. I should also ask the honourable member to take a hard look at the benefits that the farmer still receives compared to the non-farmer and compared to any other farmer on the prairies. The Alberta farmer still has the Farm Fuel Fertilizer Price Protection Plan in place and is the only farmer that gets a rebate in addition to being exempted from fuel tax on either his diesel or his purple fuel.
Mr. Speaker, the GRIP program doesn't cover the actual cost of production and in fact only guarantees farmers 70% of an average price that is continuing to decline. And I'd like to ask the minister, given the opposition to the GRIP program expressed to the minister last week by delegates of the Alberta Wheat Pool, how can he continue to support a program that guarantees farmers steadily reducing incomes while his government is working so hard at the same time to increase their costs by carelessly slashing these important fertilizer and fuel programs?
Mr. Speaker, I'm not sure where this member does his research. The so-called GRIP program was developed by a committee of 33 people across Canada, 19 of who were producers. One of those producers was the first vice president of the Alberta Wheat Pool, and he tells me the Alberta Wheat Pool does not support GRIP.
Thank you. Edmonton Gold Bar. Edmonton Gold Bar.
Thanks, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, curiously, both the Premier and the Minister of Health continue to applaud themselves publicly over the so-called increase to health spending, whatever that is. Well, all around us there's evidence to the contrary. Mr. Speaker, the tinkering to programming announced by the minister may very well neutralize any increase. And once again, we see that seniors have become an easy target. Mr. Speaker, my questions are to the Minister of Health. The government allows extra billing for dental services to seniors because the government's approved fee schedule for dentists doesn't even come close to the actual costs. Now, under the new cost share program, seniors have to pay 20% and the government pays 80%, presumably. What of? That's what we don't know. Mr. Speaker, my question to the minister is it the government's intention to prohibit extra billing?
Mr. Speaker, we, of course, as being governed by the Canada Health Act, there is no extra billing with respect to basic medical services that are governed under the Health Act. Alberta, however, has consistently argued that we wanted to supplement programs beyond those that we were required to provide under the Canada Health Act, and one of those areas of program coverage is the one of routine dental care in Alberta for senior citizens. We happen to think it's an important program. It's certainly not a dental plan, but it is some support for dental coverage for seniors, and certainly the ability to extra bill by the dentist is one that is not governed by the Canada Health Act, and dentists can, in fact, extra bill, quote unquote, in this province.
So, Mr. Speaker, we take it that that's acceptable and that, in fact, we're chipping away even further at the meager income of many of our seniors. Mr. Speaker, my next question then to the minister is it the minister's intention to institute any kind of a subsidy program for those low-income seniors who can't even afford a trip to the dentist, let alone extra billing fees?
Well, Mr. Speaker, if we were to have a universal dental program in this province, I think it would be very appropriate if we were to look at ability to pay, as we have done, for example, and as presumably the Liberals are now supporting on the Aids to Daily Living program. However, that is not the way that we have looked at dental care in this province. We believed it was important to provide some assistance to seniors for their dental care, and that is a program that will continue. It's one that we're asking seniors to cost share, and it is very important. And as we look across the country, let's look at it. I mean, British Columbia has no coverage for dental care for seniors. Manitoba has no coverage. Ontario has no coverage. I think it's an important thing to provide some of that coverage within the 9.8% increase this year over last at the Department of Health. And those were some of the principles and prudent choices that we made in developing our budget, Mr. Speaker.
Edmonton Highlands.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A few years ago, an Edmonton Coalition on Homelessness reported that homelessness was a serious problem in the inner city. They also indicated that about 85% of the housing structures in the inner city had a structural life of less than 5 years. In the meantime, Mr. Speaker, the throne speech 2 years ago before the election was called indicated a new government support for shelter for the homeless, which has resulted so far in only a few units being constructed with the help of Alberta government money. Now, Mr. Speaker, the social services budget shows a 3.5% drop in shelters for homeless adults. I'd like to ask the Minister of Family and Social Services, is this the final word that he has on shelter for homelessness in Edmonton, or is he planning another program to replace what's now being reduced?
Mr. Speaker, no, this is not the final word at this time. I'm happy to advise the member that I'm working very closely with my colleagues on this side of the House, and that we'll be making some further announcements later this year.
So already the budget's out of balance, is it?
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to ask the Minister of Municipal Affairs, who's responsible for the housing program in Alberta and the administration of the National Housing Act finance programs, if he plans to correct what's wrong with this picture. This picture shows that the Alberta government was the only government last year that had no social housing whatsoever under this program compared to all the others. Is he going to fix that this year, Mr. Speaker?
Best to draw you a new picture.
Mr. Speaker, I'd certainly appreciate the document the honourable member has being tabled so that I'm able to examine the graph as such and the basis upon which it is designed. I believe the province of Alberta has very actively, in a proactive way, developed housing in this province comparable to any other province. And I'm sure that if we lay those facts before this legislature, that will be very evident. During this upcoming fiscal year, it's our intent, Mr. Speaker, to announce some very aggressive and positive steps in the cities of Edmonton and Calgary to meet the needs of homeless people in terms of housing. One of the things that's more active in Alberta than in other provinces of Canada is the free enterprise system, the market system, whereby people are able to secure their own home in which to live, and we don't have to move into many social subsidized types of accommodation.
Well, thank you. Before we go on to deal with Standing Order 40 request, is there any member here who has a group yet to be introduced? Okay, might we have unanimous consent to revert to the introduction of guests? Opposed? Carried. Member.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. It's a pleasure for me to be able to introduce through you and to the members of the Legislative Assembly 28 grade 6 students from St. Elizabeth Seton School. They are accompanied by teachers and parents, Mel Edlin, Jeanette Blunden, Maria Gigliotti, Florence Massey, and a neighbor of mine, Ron Berndred. They are seated in the members' gallery, Mr. Speaker, and I would ask them to rise and receive the warm reception of this assembly.
Edmonton Centre, Standing Order 40 request.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members of the Assembly. I do appeal to members for consideration of this motion, which I put before members in writing, that the Legislative Assembly urges the Government of Canada to take a leading effort in providing humanitarian assistance to relieve the suffering of the Kurdish refugees, and urges the Government of Alberta through the Alberta Agency for International Development to make a generous contribution to the international relief effort mobilizing now to meet the extensive needs of the Kurdish people. Mr. Speaker, I think it's becoming more and more painfully evident to us through a number of press reports and visual images on our evening TV sets that this massive human tragedy that is taking place in the Iraqi Turkish border is one that isn't just out there, but that in fact we have some jurisdiction over, that there are some things that we can, out of our compassion, out of our resources, respond to. This motion wants to look at that and to urge action in this regard. So I put it before members to be dealt with in this urgent way. Thank you.
Under Standing Order 40, there's a request for unanimous consent for the matter to proceed. All those willing to give unanimous consent, please. Aye. Aye. Excuse me. Opposed, please say no. Matter carries. Member for Edmonton Centre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and all members of the Assembly for your unanimous support for this. As I've said, the reports are saying now that close to 1 million people, 1 million men, women, and children who are our brothers and sisters on this planet, though far away, are experiencing dire suffering, starvation, disease, and life-threatening elements. Children are dying in the cold mountains on the Iraqi-Turkish border. Mr. Speaker, I don't want to rehearse all of the elements and aspects of the Persian Gulf War and other situations that might have led up to this situation. What we need to do today is to realize that there is this great human crisis, that it is happening now, and that we have to take every effort, every resource, every means at our disposal to help those in this tragic situation. There's the response from the United Nations recently declaring that this situation affects international peace and security, and hence international relief efforts and agencies can, should, and must be involved. I just want all members of the Assembly to do what we can through the various resources I'd like to hear of from government and other mechanisms to show our compassion, to show how we are wanting to stand up with our brothers and sisters in this situation and do all that we can to relieve their suffering. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Edmonton Goldbar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Liberal caucus is pleased to support this motion. What is happening, Mr. Speaker, is a shocking and very terrifying situation that's a fallout from the war. It's our understanding that the Kurds are being bombed by their own countrymen as they attempt to seek some kind of safe haven for themselves and their families. They're starving, they're ill. All citizens of this country and this province should feel outrage and should support in every way we can any organized means to alleviate the tragedy.
Minister of Economic Development and Trade.
Mr. Speaker, let me take this opportunity too, sir, to indicate the support of our Premier and the Government of Alberta as it relates to this motion, and extend congratulations to members of the Legislative Assembly for exercising such great compassion and sympathy for those individuals who are going through some severe, stressful periods. I wish to indicate too my thanks to the honourable member who suggested the motion in acknowledging the excellent record we do have as a province of Alberta in offering support to our non-governmental organizations and those who are in need. Because as the honourable member has indicated in his motion, that he suggests support be offered by the Alberta Agency for International Development. It is an agency that is noted for its compassion, sir. It is the most generous of any provincial agency in an area that is traditionally federal, and we're happy to involve ourselves in support of this motion on behalf of the Government of Alberta.
Westlock Sturgeon.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I just wanted to add a personal moment to my congratulations and thanks to the honourable member for Edmonton Centre, too, because as a surface geologist back in the middle 70s, I worked for a couple of years down through this trend from Turkey into northern Iraq, and I have many Kurdish friends, and I still have many friends that I write to occasionally. It's a very barren, inhospitable country at the best of times, covered with lava flows and canyons and not much way to make a living. That's one of the reasons that the Kurds were left to occupy it. The Iraqis, the Iranians, and the Turks didn't want it, so the Kurds are the only ones in there. So it's a shame indeed to leave such an impoverished and countryside as they have, what little they had, to get bombed and chased out of it. So anything we can do to help them, I sure appreciate it. And I want to thank again for my Kurdish friends and also my on behalf of many others that are interested in helping out the less fortunate, the honourable member for Edmonton Centre, for bringing this forward.
Call for question. Member wish to sum up? Edmonton Centre. The motion is before the House. Those in favour, please signify. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Orders of the day.
Written question.